Hey everyone, how you all doing? Sir Stevie here, bringing you a brand new Blackout video. In the video today, guys, going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm just going to be doing a little bit of a guide slash tutorial on my main tips for how to rotate in Blackout. I did a tutorial video around about a month or so ago, which was my top 5 tips for the end game in Blackout, so when there's only a few people left. It's on nearly 600 views now, guys, so thanks so much for all the support on the video. If you've not seen it already, I definitely recommend checking it out. I'll leave a link down for it in the description. If you're new to my channel as well, if you could hit that subscribe button and like this video, that'd be much appreciated. But now, guys, without further ado, I'll just run you through some of the main tips that I'd give on how to rotate in Blackout. Okay guys, so one thing that I'd say you always need to consider when you're rotating in Blackout is first of all decide what type of player you are. What I mean by that is deciding on whether you're a passive player or an aggressive player. If you're a passive player, I'd recommend landing on places like on the edge of the map, like estate, hydro dam, turbine, that sort of thing, just because you're much more likely to bump into less people. And so it means you have time to stock up on loot, that sort of thing. You still can get a kill or two, but there's a lot less of a risk of you getting third partied. So if you're a passive player, you definitely want to be landing more on the edge of the map. On the other hand, if you're an aggressive player, I'd say you need to be landing more centrally, like firing range, river town, something like that. Just because you're a lot more likely to get kills. It'd suit your rotation better because it's your play style. You prefer a lot more close quarter fighting. You don't have to move as far. If you're a passive player, you will have to move further in some cases if the zone jumps to the other side of the map. And as an aggressive player as well, it helps with your rotation because, of course, you're going to be coming out with better loot. You don't have to waste time heading to the zone and trying to find supplies at the same time. You'll have come out with a few kills, and one of the main things is you'll obviously still be alive, and you'll have quite a few supplies to help you in the process as well. Another thing that I'd say that you need to consider, guys, is this depends on each game that you're playing, really. What type of loadout do you have? If you've not got much of a loadout, I'd say you're going to have to head to a more populated area like your Rivertown firing range, depending on where the zone's going, just to try and stock up on weapons, ammo, armor, medis, that sort of thing, just so you don't run out of them in the end game. However, if you do have a good loadout, for me personally, I wouldn't bother going into any of those really populated areas unless I had to. Say, for example, I've landed at Turbine and I've got a great loadout, I could sort of hover around the desert area, around that bit for a while before having to head into a major populated area. Okay guys, so those are some of the tips that I'd give out depending on what type of player you are and what sort of situation you are in the game. Now going into some tips that basically help me a lot just in any game regardless that I play. These are just some of the main ones that I use. So one that I have is sticking close to the zone. I always stick close to the zone, particularly during the end game. The reason being is it basically cuts out the fact that no one's going to be shooting you from behind. Of course, this isn't always applicable when you're early on in the game because the zone isn't doing that much damage and people still can kill you. But obviously, if that does happen, you can then just start shooting them and they're still going to be taking even more damage. The only thing I'd say on the other hand of this is if, say, I wouldn't recommend hugging the zone if you've got a long distance to travel. Purely just because of the fact that you are going to take some damage unless you jump in a vehicle, that sort of thing. So that's one thing to bear in mind. But I always hug the zone when playing Blackout, guys, just because then I know that I only have to look in one direction from where people are going to be coming, especially during the end game because obviously it does like 25 damage every second, so there's not going to be anyone in there. So that's one of the key tips that I'd say, just because obviously, like I said, you're cutting off instantly one direction where anyone can be traveling to kill you. Another key tip that I'd say, guys, is make sure that you're always near some sort of cover when rotating. I can't tell you how many times this has helped me, in all honesty, because there's so many times where you might be rotating somewhere and you're just running through a field and then all of a sudden you start getting shot at by your opponent. And if you've not got some sort of cover, you don't have any chance of surviving that. You're just basically relying on the fact that they miss their aim, they miss their bullets, and that you manage to hit them in a better place than they've hit you, like getting a headshot, something like that. So I always make sure I'm no more than a second or two away from like a tree, a rock, a building, something like that. Just because it helps so much with being able to rotate and it just increases your chances of surviving. Especially if you're needing to rotate somewhere quickly and you don't really have any time to check your surroundings, you know, to check if someone's hiding behind a bush, that sort of thing. So definitely one I'd recommend considering, guys, when rotating. And then coming into the final 2 tips that I'd recommend when rotating in Blackout, guys. First one, I'd recommend using equipment to rotate. What I mean by that is using things sort of like dead silence and mobility. I wouldn't recommend using vehicles just because of how much noise they make. I'd only use one if it's a life and death situation where I have to get out of a fight because I've got no health or the zone's about to kill me. But what I mean by using equipment like dead silence and mobility is it lets you cover so much ground quickly and quietly. So if you have to travel, say, from estate to turbine to be able to avoid dying from the zone, it really does wonders, guys. With my final tip, guys, what I'd recommend doing is don't fight in the zone. What I mean by that is if you're traveling through somewhere like firing range and you can hear a guy moving about and the zone's right behind you, don't bother getting in the fight, guys. Just carry on heading to the zone if you can. If you can avoid fighting him, just carry on heading to the zone, just because it saves you taking damage from your opponent and the zone at the same time, which is just a combination of death, really. So yeah, I'd recommend just carrying on heading to the zone. Wait for your opponent to then get in your line of sight when you're in the safe part of the zone, and then you're able to kill them a lot easier. I hope these tips have helped you guys. If they have, if you could leave a like, rating and subscribe to my channel, it'd be much appreciated. That's it for today, guys. Have a good day. Take care. Bye for now.